Shipboard organization is divided into three different departments: the deck department, the engine department, and the steward department. Each of these departments are composed of crew members who sail on board and are responsible for safe operation while the ship is at sea and at port. The deck department is responsible for the navigation, cargo operation, and maintenance of the deck, hull, and overall structure. Master or captain. The captain of the ship is the supreme authority on board. He or she is a licensed master mariner and is sometimes called skipper. All the crew members on ships are under his or her command, as he or she is responsible for the overall safety, operation, and maintenance of the vessel.
Starboard 10!
Chief Officer, Chief Mate. The deck department is under the direct supervision of the Chief Officer or First Mate, often called the Chief Mate on the United States. He or she is the management level officer holding a Chief Officer license and is designated as the head of the deck department. The Chief Officer is said to be the second in command after the Master and shall assume command should be the Master be incapable or absent. The second officer or the second mate. Second officer or the second mate is licensed officer in charge of navigation with a certificate of competency for the second officer. He or she is the watchkeeper, directs the bridge team, and navigates the ship. The third officer or third mate. The third officer or the third mate is the least experienced qualified OIC and W with the COC for the third officer. He or she is also a watchkeeper who directs the bridge team, maneuvers the vessel, and keeps it safe and on track. The third mate's primary duty is to ensure the operational readiness of life-saving and firefighting equipment by inspecting gear lockers, lifeboats, and all equipment on board. The composition of the watch on the bridge is determined based on many different factors that consider the safety of navigation. Watch keeping schedule: 0800 hours to 1200 hours and 2000 hours to 2400 hours is the third officer. 0100 hours to 0400 hours and 1200 hours to 1600 hours is second officer. 0400 hours to 0800 hours and 1600 hours to 2000 hours is the chief officer. Deck cadet, ordinary seaman, and able-bodied seaman. Able seaman. An able seaman works under the direct supervision of the boatswain while assigned on deck duties. The AB stands a navigational watch with the watchkeeping officer on the bridge, generally as a lookout or a helmsman. Ordinary seaman. The ordinary seamen are considered to be the lowest ranking personnel on the deck department. They are usually assigned to work with the able seaman as directed by the bosun. The engine department, on the other hand, operates and maintains the machinery that runs the ship and upkeeps the space this machinery occupies. Chief Engineer. The Chief Engineer is a licensed engineering officer who oversees the engine department. Some refer to him or her as chief and is responsible for all the operations and maintenance of all the machineries and equipment on board. Second engineer. Second engineer is a licensed engineering officer who is deputy to the chief engineer. He or she supervises the daily maintenance and operation of the engine department and reports directly to the chief engineer. In the absence of chief, he or she takes over the engine room command. Third engineer. The third engineer is a licensed engineering officer who is usually in charge of the operation and maintenance of the shift boiler, fuel, and auxiliary engines. Fourth engineer. The fourth engineer is the lowest ranking engineering officer on board a ship. He or she is usually responsible for electrical, sewage treatment, purifier, pumps, and compressors. Fitter. The fitter is the foreman of the engine department ratings. He or she is a petty officer and is a licensed member of engine department, with more experience than oiler. He or she is responsible for fabricating, welding, and repairing parts needed for the operation of the ship. Oiler is an engineering rating, meaning he or she is an unlicensed member but more experienced than wiper. He or she is assigned to keep watch together with the engineer during watchkeeping duties. Wiper. Wipers are of same rank of the ordinary seaman. They are in charge of engine room housekeeping and support work as directed by their superiors. Finally, the steward department, sometimes referred as the catering department, ensures that all crew members are well fed with healthy and good food. Chief Cook. All the food preparations on board is under the supervision of the Chief Cook. He or she is an unlicensed crew member in the same rank of the bosun and feeder. The Chief Cook plans and prepares the meals for all crew members as he or she also does the budgeting and inventory of the supervision supplies. Second cook. Not all ships had second cook, but for those who are assigned, he or she is tasked to assist the chief cook in all his or her functions. Messman. The messman is usually the lowest ranking crew member